What's up, my Alpha team? It is 17:30 UTC, December the 22nd here in 2021. There's a nice timestamp for anybody that's listening, trying to put it all together. It is Wednesday. It's our actually last day of broadcasting this week. We'll be off on Thursday and Friday of this week for Christmas. But so enjoy your time, either away from the markets or sometimes, at least with crypto or NFTs, you can't stay away from the markets. And I get that as well. But yeah, enjoy your time away that you are able to with your friends and family. But yeah, today we've got a lot of good stuff to talk about. One of the things, I'm about to have my reveal for my Spider-Man NFT. I just now, literally 15 minutes before it went live, we went live, I opened up my email and there it was. Your Spider-Man NFT is ready. And if you're wondering what that was, I was able to go to the premiere of Spider-Man and I bought through AMC, and they said, if you buy and go to opening night of Spider-Man, No Way Home, then you will be able to get an NFT that's exclusive to only those that went to opening night. So if you've heard me speak on here for some time, you know that I think that's really cool. We talked about concerts and music yesterday. I always think it's cool to know exactly who your best and your biggest fans are. So I'm a big Spider-Man fan, right? So I went and I bought through AMC and did all the things. I probably wouldn't have went to an AMC theater, to be honest. It wasn't as convenient, but I really wanted this NFT. So I signed up for it. And some of you guys have asked, what chain is it going to be on? How are you going to get this? And I didn't have that answer. I didn't really look into it. And so I thought it might be like through Vivi, where it's almost like a centralized NFT where I don't quite have it on my wallet. So I got the NFT and I was almost worried that it's like, oh no, it's going to get into my TRADERVERSE show and I won't be able to redeem it quite as easily. So instead I started going through, and it's on the Wax network. If you're familiar with the Wax network, it's I believe Felis. I need to look more into it. I've never gotten an NFT off the Wax network, but you guys may have. And if you have, I want to hear your thoughts on it. But it was pretty easy. I had a redemption code. I did it through a site that the email sent me to. I did the redemption code, and then it gave me just real quick a look at the rarities. And I wish I would have taken a screenshot of it because now, granted, I had to get on here, so I haven't been able to look at it a whole lot. But I wanted to read the rarities. I'm fairly certain I got just a common, not a great one. It's a logo, and it's kind of an animated, movie of the Spider-Man logo. But they have some really cool ones. I think that are like comic books, kind of like VV, where it'll have like digital pictures of comic books. I did not get one of those, which could be rather rare. I don't know how many people will get those out of the 86,000 that they minted. So they did mint quite a few. Again, if you went to the premiere with AMC, then you could have gotten it. So anyway, I was able to do that whole process, redeem it through Wax, and now it's sitting on this newly created Wax wallet that I have. Here's what I say. I don't really care that the one I got wasn't great. Okay, it's not the best one I could have possibly got. But what I do think is cool is like a proof of concept, right? To prove that you can go to an event and then get back, an NFT just for going to that event. So I'll probably keep this one. I don't know that I'm looking to flip it. It may not even be worth anything to flip, but it seems like a cool thing. By the way, if any of you are in here, and first of all, you're wondering where Zach is not able to join us today, but instead, you're going to make up for it by bringing everybody else in. You're going to hit that button on the lower right-hand corner of your phone. You'll tweet out this room, and let's see if we can get as many people as possible in here. With me today, as always, is Christine. Christine, how are you doing?
I'm great. I'm bummed to hear that Zach, because the reveal is today, right? And he said he was going to reveal it, and he's not here to reveal it. So I will, is that he did get COVID. So that's the reveal.
Yeah. I don't have I don't have a COVID sound really, but
yes.
Yeah, today was going to be
that was his reveal. Sorry.
No. I'm glad you did. But yeah, so Zach yesterday teased us with that, and I guess he could have said the reveal is if I don't show up tomorrow, then that's the reveal.
Yes. The good news is, guys, that he feels okay. So he just had a headache or whatever. But yeah, so he's not with us today because the reveal is he tested positive. So, but we will be able to talk to you guys today about what's our subject today? What will you tell your accountant?
Yeah, that's right. So
your gains or losses.
Christine and I were talking about, she had said this comment almost as a throw, or maybe you put it on Twitter as, just kind of a throwaway comment of, it's going to be hard to explain to my accountant, what are these NFTs? What are, crypto can be hard in general for people to understand, but at least there they can talk in terms of coins that, maybe a financial person knows about. But if I'm to tell them, like, you see, I have this picture of this baby ape, and he's he, and you see he's got a drum next to him, so it's worth more.
Right. And I bought it for this much. And, if you did sell it at like the rip, right? So you'd be like, and my gains were this on these baby apes.
Right.
And like the face of your accountant would be like, dude, hell are you talking about?
No
Because
doubt. Like, on cartoons, when sometimes in cartoons, if people like drink like a beer or something and their eyes just get turned into like pinwheels and there's just like spinning in
Yep.
the eyes. That's what I imagine the accountant's kind of looking at. It's just complete pinwheel eyes with no clue what I'm talking about.
Right. And the thing about it is, right, like, that. So my accountant, I'm sure a lot of accountants keep up to date with a lot of the potential new investments people are making and gains. Like, I know that accountants somewhat, at least basic knowledge, know about crypto for a while now. And that they are super pissed that they have to learn about NFTs now and how to, the taxation, the new taxation laws on NFTs. I just think it's so funny because my accountant's great, and I think he's going to cuss me out because my whole income has a bunch of weird things in it now that I'm going to have to explain, and I'm going to try not to laugh, but he's going to cuss me out.
Do you have to pay? It sounds like you found a good accountant. Is there a premium for a good accountant that can at least understand crypto, and now they're going to understand NFTs after they get through with you? Is there a premium paying for that?
Don't know, because he's a great accountant and he handles like, the corporation I have and like the accounting and the taxes. For this past year, I'd always just buy stocks or even crypto since 2016, but I never cashed out on it. Like, I just kept it in, and it was like a set it and forget it. This past year is the only year that I've ever really like started cashing out gains. And I know that he's going to be like, what in the hell did you do? Like, why didn't you call me? What is this? Like, what are all these different things? And I have yet to know how he's going to approach, like, the taxation on the NFT stuff, or me cashing out on the stocks. And what I'm confused about too is like the short term. Like, I never like day traded before or anything, so this is going to be all new to him and myself in the taxes, because he is under the impression that I just buy stocks and I leave it there for years and years and years, and I'll cash out way later, because that's how I was until COVID started. And I'm like, okay, this is how I'm going to pay myself. So he's going to hate me for sure.
Well, so you've got a lot of things going on then. First of all, it sounds like you cashed out like with stocks this year for the first time ever. So there's a wrinkle that he wasn't prepared for.
Yeah, I'm also not prepared for.
Right. Well, yeah, you may literally not be prepared for. We were talking this morning, and with stock trades, it works kind of funny as far as capital gains are concerned, because you may cash out, and maybe you make $20,000. Maybe you did really good on your cashing out, right? But then you put that $20,000 into another stock. So you're like, okay, now I'm going to buy at the bottom of another stock or another NFT or whatever, and then that $20,000 is gone and into the next investment. But guess what? You're taxed on the capital gains of liquidating that first amount of stock. And yeah, then the tax man comes and says, "Hey, remember that $20,000 you made? I'm gonna need a little slice of that." And you say,
like, "No, I don't remember what you're talking about, and I don't remember that NFT."
I think whenever you say I don't remember, I think they say, "Okay, good enough," and they walk away. It seems like I remember.
I wish, right? And of course, magically, we have NFT tax guy up here, and we'd love to hear your thoughts on a bunch of the CPAs that are now going to have to talk to us about our cartoons and JPEGs.
Hey guys, I am out walking the dog, but I'll try to talk a little bit here. I think there definitely is going to be a premium when it comes to tax preparation, as tax consulting related to crypto and NFTs, just because it's another thing added on top of what you've already got going on, right? And sure. I think, in order to make things easier, I would say prepare now as much as you can and use those crypto softwares out there to prepare your transactions in a readable format for your CPAs or tax preparers.
Gotcha. That's interesting. So first of all, I'm glad you're in here, and I'm glad you're multitasking with you and your dog. But how is even the government going to determine a value of an NFT? Because really, with an NFT, it's not like I can just like look at a market of it. It's really only valuable until I sell it and find out what somebody's willing to pay for it. How is the government going to determine, what value my NFT is that I'm holding on to?
Well, there's a couple of steps in the transactions. Let's say you're going onto OpenSea and you're buying, a new NFT project for 1 ETH, right? You bought that 1 ETH a year ago, let's say for $1,000. You now transfer that ETH into a new NFT. The ETH at that time is worth $4,000. So now you have a $3,000 capital gain you have to recognize. And now your cost basis within that NFT is $4,000. And then when you sell it, let's say you sell it in 2 years for 4 ETH. Whatever the ETH is worth at that time, let's say it's worth 1,000. So 4 ETH times the 10,000, you have $40,000 minus your basis of 4,000. You have a $36,000 capital gain. And then if you're holding on to the ETH, you could have another capital gain if you sell that ETH later or buy another NFT.
You remember those pinwheel eyes I was talking about?
I have a question, NFT tax guy. Is that what we call you, NFT tax guy, or do you want us to call you?
My name's David.
Okay, David, NFT tax guy. I have a question. So do you think, like, moving forward, this is what I was thinking about yesterday because I'm getting scared now that I have an appointment with my accountant. Do you think moving forward I should create a corporation where I do like all of these transactions with like my NFTs and crypto and I guess essentially stocks? Should I put that in a corporation and not tax it as like my personal?
There are benefits to that. I'd speak to your accountant to see what they think. And I would definitely make sure if you're doing that to make sure you separate things, you set up, different accounts for each. And there's different tax rules depending on the entity structure you're going to pick. So I'd say definitely consult with your CPA.
Okay.
So I have a question about selling an NFT for ETH. So let's say I take $1,000, I buy, 0.25 ETH with that, and I spend that 0.25 ETH on an NFT. Then I sell that NFT for 0.5 ETH, but I don't convert the ETH to fiat. Is that a tax transaction?
Yes. So if it's whatever that, so when that 0.5, whatever that 0.5 ETH is equal to at the time you sell your NFT, let's say it's worth, so you say $1,000, you bought it for 0.25. Now the 0.5 is worth, let's say 2,500, right? So then you have 2,500 minus 1,000, you have a $1,500 capital gain. Plus, you could subtract out any gas fees you're paying as well to kind of, or any fees or anything like that to kind of to bring down the gain a little bit.
Thank goodness for high gas fees. Finally, it's working in our favor, y'all. That is interesting to be able to talk about, and incredibly confusing. This is where we really rely on our experts like David. And David, just on my personal Voice of DeFi account, I just followed you because, you seem like a good follow and somebody that's knowledgeable. Tell me this: if somebody is, here's you, who obviously you have a national presence, being on Twitter. You're not just like limited to a state. Is there any type of reason why they should get a local CPA, or could they get somebody that's a tax preparer like yourself and get somebody out of their own state to be able to prepare their taxes for NFTs and crypto?
I think you could go national for this stuff if you wanted to. With COVID-19, I'm remote, 100% remote. I've set up the tax portal to get all my tax documents. So I'm based in Massachusetts, but I have clients in New York, in Texas, in Virginia, all over the place. It's just the nuances for state laws can differ from state to state. So I just have to make sure that if it's a new state that I haven't covered before, I just got to kind of brush up on it a little bit. But for federal tax purposes, it's all the same.
That makes sense to me as I think about like TurboTax and things like that, obviously those are national, they're not local. And, thousands upon thousands, maybe millions upon millions of people use that. So, that makes perfect sense to me. Cryptkeeper, you got your hand up. What's up?
Can you open up an LLC like for NFTs, like not even for like you having your own project as far as like owning the NFTs?
You certainly could. You just have to know that it's going to be passed through, right? So let's say you open up an LLC and you're the sole owner. If you're buying and selling NFTs within the LLC, any of the capital gains that you're making within the LLC are going to get passed down to you.
Sounds like there's not as much of an advantage then.
Yeah.
It's the liability. If there's any chances of liability that you could face, that's really the reason to set up the LLCs.
But, I get that. But if you're just like Cryptkeeper said, it's more like an investment rather than like you're running your own project. If you're running your own project, I can see why you would want to limit your liability. If you're just saying, I don't own these, the LLC owns the NFTs, I don't know liability.
You're not going to avoid taxes that way.
Would it setting up an LLC for that give you access to additional tax deductions though?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I mean, potentially if it's a business that you're setting up, but if it's just something for investment purposes, I mean, I'd say it's kind of hard to justify. That's just it's not financial advice. I mean, talk to your own CPA and see what they think, but it's just my opinion.
It's like stock trading. I mean, a lot of people, myself included, I do most of my trading inside an LLC. I do that for, so I can deduct anything that's deductible as a business, and maybe even some things that aren't necessarily deductible. But the worst thing that happens is that, hey, you can't deduct that. But there are a lot of things you can deduct as a business. You need a computer to trade NFTs. You need internet.
Yeah, like I said, if it's an active business, that's one thing. If it's something where you're just buying NFTs and just doing like a little bit of investing, putting it just for that purposes, I don't really see the need.
How about if you do the NFTs, the crypto, and any kind of investment trading like that? I mean, because some people are, they do really well in their investments, and it could potentially be, it could put them on a different bracket. So would it be smart to do that if it was all like the investments in one LLC or S Corp or something?
Yeah, I mean, there's could be potential benefits there, but again, if it's going to be passed through to yourself, let's say as a sole member LLC, and you have $100,000 of capital gains within the LLC, it's going to get passed through to you. So there's different things you'd have to do to make sure you structure it the right way.
How about if I put my wife like as my employee? I'm sorry.
She could be on the board or something. Or yeah, she could be an employee, right?
Yeah, she could be the one buying and selling, and like I'm just paying her.
I mean, there's ways that you could even get if you have kids, you could have your kids do some jobs for you too. I mean, there's different things there's all kinds of things you can do.
So NFT tax guy.
I think we need a class, David. Definitely need a class, bro.
David, what do you think about? Could you give us some loopholes?
Well, the one thing I'd say is, I don't know if you guys already talked about it, but wash sales do not apply to crypto. So if you do have any cryptocurrency you're holding right now that's down from where you bought it, you can sell it now, take the loss for 2021, rebuy it immediately.
Did he just get rugged?
Yeah, he got carpeted.
Oh,
it's been happening a lot lately on here. Yeah, you're good.
I was just talking about the wash sale rule in cryptocurrency. So if you bought Bitcoin back when it was in the 60,000s, you could sell that now, take the loss for 2021, and rebuy it immediately and still hold the same amount, but be able to take that loss against any capital gains you had this year.
That's a big loss, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
you can buy it right back.
You have a max loss that you could write off, right? Isn't it $3,000?
Yeah,
$3,000. But if you have a bunch of capital gains that you had accumulated this year, that's a big write-off you could take against those gains.
Yeah, true that.
There's no limit. So back to the LLC conversation. Correct me if I'm wrong. If you have, you could have $100,000 loss in an LLC. It's just a carryover, right?
For your business.
Yeah, versus do it like so individually. The most I can carry is 3,000. But if it's a business, there's no limit on the tax loss carry forward I can have. So again, I'm asking.
Well, to go back for your personal, you can take $3,000 of losses this year, and you'll be able to carry forward all those other losses into the following years. And then for business purposes, yes, you could carry that forward as well.
Yeah, because I'm definitely thinking about opening up like some type of business where just everything is just legit and something like that.
One thing that doesn't get talked about in this community enough in terms of like taxes, I know we're going off the NFT thing just a tad here, but when the AMC thing happened last January, and correct me if I'm wrong, David, a lot of these kids aped into this play, made deep six figures. Some of them made life-changing amounts of money. Then they turned around and they wanted to roll again. They wanted to pull the slot machine one more time, and then they got burned. This was after taking the gains on AMC. So these are realized gains, aka taxable gains. Then they blew up their accounts, right? So when Taxman comes for you, a lot of people don't know this. It's actually kind of alarming. When Taxman comes for you, he doesn't care when you start telling him like, oh, I know I had $200,000 that I made on AMC, but you don't understand, like, I lost it all, so you can't tax me on it. Like, no, yeah, he can. Like, he's looking for that money. Like, you need to be setting aside money for when tax time comes around. A lot of these kids are like eternally burned. Like, some of those kids were in school that have student loans on top of these enormous AMC debts they have.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think if they did take those big losses, it'd be a good idea to realize those losses, right? To hopefully off some of those AMC gains.
Yeah. So just in terms of NFTs, like, you'll have one of these AFTs, like the kid apes or whatever they're called, that did really well like last week or the week before, and people will do the same thing. They'll look for another project and they cashed on them, and there's a large percentage of these. What is it? The Sushi Verse got rugged. The Penguins didn't pan out the way it was supposed to. There's been a number of Loopy Donuts is another one.
Tactical events.
Yes, 100%.
And it's like scary when you think about that, and very unfair. Like, I think it's unfair. Another thought that I just remembered too is, David, isn't there a whole thing with like art law? Like, it's like a whole different book, like when it comes to like art, and like the taxation and how the money and profits and whatever. Does that apply to NFT? Because it is art. And I know that I had a acquaintance at one point in my life that was like studying to be a lawyer just with like art law, because he said it's like huge and like people specialize in it, and like the taxation and everything, like with all that, like it's so complicated. So that's what he was specializing in. Would NFTs land in between like the art law and like, just regular capital gains and whatever, like, because that's in between.
The IRS is definitely far behind on this stuff, and they need to come out with some guidance, for everyone, including me. And I would consider that NFTs are similar to art, as they are like a collectible, almost like a digital collectible, more so than, a stock or a cryptocurrency.
Right, because it's kind of both.
Yeah. One other thing I wanted to mention too is, when you're talking about the taxes and people owing taxes, is let's say somebody bought a Bored Ape Yacht Club at the mint price, and now they sold it for, let's say, 200 ETH, right? That's a huge capital gain they're going to have to recognize between the difference of when they first minted it and when they sold it for this 200 ETH. Now, let's say that they're still holding this 200 ETH going into 2022, and for some reason ETH completely tanks. Let's say it goes down to $500. The IRS, like this guy was talking about with AMC, the IRS is not going to care. They're going to say, you recognize all of this gain on your sale of the Bored Ape Yacht Club. We want our money. And at that time, the ETH is down so much, you're not going to want to sell, but people could be forced to sell their ETH in order to pay the taxes. So just a word of advice, just to set aside money for taxes in fiat, to kind of determine what you might owe now, and to set that money aside so that you can pay it.
This is very heartbreaking.
Does anyone know if there's been any legal challenges to that? I mean, because I'm just sitting here thinking as a the SEC is on record, Bitcoin's not an asset, or it's not a security. Okay, so I mean, obviously it's an asset, but I'm trying to think of other like real world assets that you could trade and not pay a tax at time of trade, and I can't really come up with any. But the fact that you didn't convert that into fiat, I got to think there's got to be a legal challenge to being taxed on trading one asset for another asset that is of a different different type asset altogether.
You're talking about cashing out of crypto and having it roll back into crypto and not fiat?
No, I'm just saying, yeah. What if you just never convert it to fiat? If I traded you a Jose Canseco rookie card for a King Griffey Jr. rookie card. Okay,
you dated yourself. Yeah,
yeah, a little bit.
No worries.
So if I did that, I mean, what's how much I'm still holding a same type of asset. I haven't converted it into anything I can spend yet.
Mm-hmm.
How are you going to tax me on it?
Yeah, I don't know how that. Just like I've heard of people. You've heard these stories where like somebody will get a paper clip and trade it for something, and eventually they trade from starting from a paperclip all the way up to a car. And yeah, are those taxable events that are happening whenever you're just trading things that have nothing to do with fiat. So the government wants me to pay them in fiat, but I've never seen any gains in fiat. So I see completely what Ryan's saying right there. If you're only dealing in crypto, I think that thought that you're saying is terrifying to the government, though, that we could get by without the fiat.
Man, I need cash for my NFTs from now on. This is getting too crazy. I need
Yeah,
straight cash.
it shouldn't feel this. I have plays that I'm rolling into my second year now holding that, they're up like, and these are like common stocks that I got very, very low when COVID hit that are, they're up like over 2,000%. And it literally feels like I'm hiding inside of an attic and like people have come in the house and are looking for me. Like figuratively speaking, of course. But we're all sitting here talking about how much we're dreading it and how it sucks. AK shouldn't be this way. Yada yada. Like there needs to be a dialogue on it. I'm not saying that like, yeah, we should all just get away with 0% capital gains tax. Obviously, I would love that. But I actually think the longer you hold something, the less taxes you should pay. But that's a conversation for a whole other time.
Well, that is true. There is different taxation rates for long term versus short term.
Right, like if you sell it inside of that window, but like beyond the window, like it begins to go down. Like that doesn't happen. Like once it's over a year, it's pretty much not going to like move up or down anymore. It's fixed.
It's like the
So is there-
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Is there a tax law, a tax case that we can go to where someone had a Banksy and traded it for another piece of art and that generated a tax liability?
I don't know that off the top of my head, but I could look into it. I think it's still pretty new, and if that is happening, it's probably in the lower courses, I'd imagine.
I'm going to tell IRS to pound that.
Bro, I think they're all just waiting.
What I'd say is
waiting for us to become millionaires so that they can come get us later on. That's what I think.
I'd say talk to your congressman, talk to your senator, and speak up. Tell them how you feel about this stuff, and just get your voice out there.
For sure. How about the conversation of like airdrops? Sometimes you can get NFTs or crypto for free, or you'll get crypto of different types of coins and tokens for holding other crypto and tokens and things like that. How is that taxable? Because I didn't necessarily, choose to have some of them. They're just given to me, and I don't know what value they are. How are those supposed to be looked at by the government?
I think it's easier to probably speak up some cryptocurrency. It has a value at that time that you receive it, right? And if you're able to sell it when you receive it, then it's considered income, right?
So if I'm understanding you correctly, you receive it at, let's say, I'm just going to pick a number here, $10 a coin. And then whenever you sell it, it is $2 a coin. Then at that point, it's considered a loss if you sell it at that point, correct? Because you received it at 10.
Let's say you received it at $10 this year. You'd recognize the $10 of income this year, and then if you sell it next year for $2, you'd have an $8 loss. But I got to run for a meeting, guys. It's been nice talking with you. My dog's tired now. But next time I see you guys having a space, I'll drop in.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks so much for your time.
This is crazy. Like it's just crazy. Like I don't even know.
It's awesome.
One of the other things that people talk about a lot, like obviously in this community, there's very impassioned crypto holders that I know people that are literally 100% DeFi. They talk about how it's wrong. Like you can't tax it. It was supposed to be decentralized. Like you can't regulate this. You really can't have one without the other. If you don't want them to regulate it, you better fucking hope that they have a way to tax it. Because if you don't find if they don't have some sort of handle on it, and this just runs loose the way that it has in years prior, like it could just disappear. Like crypto in general is just on ice until there's just some sort of way to regulate it in some form, whether that's taxation, excuse me, but or something alternate to that. It's just gotten wild. Like the altcoin explosion exposed that to the utmost degree.
You've said that on here before, and I thought after you said it the first time, I think it was you that said it the first time. I thought very deeply about it, about how like we almost need regulation because otherwise they'll just nuke and bomb the whole thing.
Yeah.
Granted, you can't. Okay, so I know the counterpoint to that. If anybody's pounding your desk right now saying, "But it's decentralized, you can't take it down," I get it. I understand that. However, right now, whenever I hold my decentralized currency, I'm not outside the law. I'm not, like you said, shaking in my attic, wondering when the bad guys are going to come get me. I know that like holding it is not illegal. But what if they just said, we can't tax it, we can't figure this out? Boom, it's done. If you hold it, you're outside the law. I don't want to be like that because I want to hold this and I don't want to have to hold it looking over my shoulder.
Yeah. And I feel like that's sort of the atmosphere in here is like there's this air of uncertainty where we've gone all this time in the last year leading up to tax time, just having fun, like aping into projects, seeing gains, getting out, dipping into another. And then like the time comes to pay the pop or whatever, and you're like, oh shit, like it's real, right?
Yeah. That, and also another thing that you're kind of alluding to is in here in this group. I feel like we have a lot of people that are willing to pay their fair share of taxes. I'm sure there's somebody in here that's like, screw the government, all that doesn't want to pay. So we're willing to pay our fair share, but it's getting to be where it's so convoluted. I can see how some people may just say, that's it. I'm not paying because I can't figure this out. I don't know how to make it work. I even think, and that's why we named it, what will you tell your accountant? I could barely keep up with what I did last week. You're expecting me to keep up, 365 days ago, or January 1st on what I did this year. Sometimes it's hard to remember, even if I have electronic all of it. It makes it rather difficult. What I would like to happen is if it's fiat, is just tax me whenever I bring it to fiat. Okay, when it's to fiat, that's very easy to me. If I make a withdrawal and it's $20,000, then boom, take your 30% of that or 20%, whatever you've got to do. That way it would be easy for me to understand and easy for me to take care of. As it is, I'm confused.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Gunther.
Okay, so like one of the things I could see with a loophole with that is like the people that are holding out for like X business accepts Ethereum, this business accepts SHIB or Doge, like that opens the door for them to never have to convert to fiat and therefore never be taxed, right? Because it's just ETH rolling back to ETH.
I completely agree. However,
the other thing, not to cut you off, the other thing is I'm not even sure how I don't have many NFTs, like full transparency. I really don't know how OpenSea does it in terms of like if they have like an automated system to divvy out forms when tax time comes. But Webull and Robinhood, Thinkorswim, like all these platforms have a really easy way. It comes in an email. It comes to you. I have a tax lady that is my accountant, and it's like $120 a year. I just send her like all my bank statements, and I send her the Webull and the Robinhood, and then I get a bill, and whatever refund that comes from anything else I've done that year. All you have to do is give them those documents, and like that's what they're paid to do, right? They're going to go through those. But I do not know how these NFT platforms are like addressing this, or if they have anything set up.
So I just found an article on taxbit.com. This was earlier. This was like this summer. And the article notes that, and I'll just read it to you verbatim. It's important to note the IRS has not taken a formal stance on the tax treatment of NFTs to this, as of this date. So maybe we don't know how they're going to treat NFTs. But to, as you're saying, I think the important thing is to just hire a really good accountant. And, you're talking about paying taxes. I'm willing to pay the very minimum required by law. And by law, I will use every law to my advantage to pay as little as possible
100%
in taxes. Yeah. So, I'm distrustful of government, which I guess it makes sense that I'm into crypto, right? So, right. But yeah, hire some really good accounts. They're probably going to be expensive this year.
Well, because they have a lot of expertise for sure. And Fake,
they have a lot of work to do. A lot of people made a lot of money on some funky assets.
Yeah, as they should. But Fake, you had said something earlier about, the problem with only taxing whenever he goes to fiat is whenever people start, saying we'll take SHIB for whatever. And that way fiat completely out of the equation. And I know that terrifies them. But to me, if you wanted to still tax that, you tax the business for that. So if Tesla starts saying we'll take SHIB or we'll take Doge to be able to buy the Tesla, then you tax it on that side of it because they are an entity that's registered with the government. That it's clearly seen on that side. Tax them on that side of it to where that way it's easier to do because I know the government's terrified of not having me deal with fiat. That makes it to where they don't get their slice of the pie. I'm willing to make it work like that. I just would like to make it to where it's easier.
It's not so easy though, right? Because like these coins and these cryptos, they fluctuate violently versus like when you give somebody a dollar bill, like it's a then and there thing. Like there's no like, well, the value of the dollar went down last year, so you actually need to give me like a piece of the other one. Like you might have bought something for 2,500 SHIB, then they tax the business on what when SHIB goes from like quad 04 to quad 09. I don't know how any of that works. I think that just sounds like a taxation nightmare.
Yeah. So if you bought Bitcoin for $10,000 and it went to $40,000, and then you bought something for $40,000 with that Bitcoin, you are taxed at that time on the disposal of the Bitcoin. So you would be taxed then. So if you bought your Tesla with a Bitcoin, you would be taxed on the essential sale conversion of that Bitcoin, which I think that's completely fine. Tax it when I take it out of the cryptocurrency ecosystem.
I love that thought, and to me, that's the way it should be done. Tony, you've had your hand up for some time. What's up?
Yeah, no, I want to say back to kind of the DeFi world. You said it takes time. Like, I go back into every trade because I'm probably one of those people that make sure if someone's looking over my shoulder, I can say what I've done. But my understanding is when you do trade in and trade out of something, it is a taxable event. So even if you go from, like, let's say you pick a coin, call it ABC, you sell ABC, and then you go buy BTY, whatever you made or lost off of ABC should be on your gain or loss report.
Should, right. Yeah, I get that. And you take good documentation, it sounds like. It sounds like whenever you make a trade, you make sure that you have good documentation on that, and good for you. But I don't know that everyone else does.
Somebody create a DAO and let's hire some really good tax lobbyists.
Ooh, a DAO lobby. I mean, it sounds crazy, but to me, whenever you've got, big organizations, let's take like Big Pharma, obviously has a lot of money and then hires out lobbyists of Big Pharma to be able to talk to lawmakers because they have the money to do so. Who else has big money? Well, DAOs. DAOs can have big money too. And yeah, you could be able to get some lobbyists there's something to this. There's something to that. Gosh, it can't be me that runs it.
Somebody go get taxdao.com quickly.
TaxDAO. Gosh, that's good.
And .eth.
Oh, and .eth. Yeah, that .eth's great because that way it's easy to donate to it. This is good. I'm like beating my chest about, let's do TaxDAO because we need a voice with lawmakers, and that would allow it to be like a decentralized voice. You could have governance with it.
Right. And we would, it would rely on all of our votes versus like trusting some CEO or whatever.
This is big. You gonna run it, Christine? I can't.
Yeah, and I'll just mysteriously fall off a helicopter. Nothing.
That's always the best tax. We were asking about tax loopholes. Fall off a helicopter is the best tax loophole you can possibly find. You guys that are like Christine, you've always been traditionally in stocks and fake. It sounds like that was the case with you as well.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot easier for taxes, right? It's just like, even if just TurboTax or something like that probably completely stands that world.
Yeah, Webull does it all for you. Like it's literally all out. Like every single, I don't care if you're taking 40-day trades a day. Like, yeah, you're going to get a lot of sheets to go through, but every single trade you've done that year is documented on the entry, the exit, the loss. You get your 3,000, like whatever maximum like capital gains deduction for your L's, and you just go from there. Last year, I was holding mostly everything full. Like I said, I was hiding upstairs. But like this year, like I have taken some stuff through this last summer. Like I have taken profits on several plays, and it'll be interesting to see like when that comes. Like I mean, I'm ready for it. I work full time, so I'm not really worried about it. But really curious.
That's me too.
Yeah.
Yep. This is the first time, this past year was when I actually realized it and put into, I cash out and put a big chunk of them into my, like I was using it as income when COVID was around. I was paying myself out like weekly or monthly or whatever. And then now I'm like, so let's see how this goes.
Yeah, I mean, that's what really the blockchain is going to show you. So like my fear, and I know it's never going to happen because there's millions of transactions on the blockchain, but you could technically follow people's wallets and figure out what they're trading in and out. So there's a lot of sites that you can just connect right to the blockchain and kind of do the tax reports that like your TD Ameritrade or Webull do. Now, your cost basis needs to be fixed a little bit, but that's kind of where the future is going, is you type in your wallets, and it helps you generate those same reports that like Webull or TD Ameritrade provides for you.
Yeah. So somebody already has taxdao.eth, by the way.
It's already been done?
I don't know what it is, but somebody has it registered.
At least somebody has the domain.
Someone did it in here, didn't they?
Well, I was trying to.
Yeah. Find out when that domain was registered. But yeah, Tony was just saying something as far as you can find software. So I haven't used it, but Coinly, Koinly.io has been suggested to me as, basically you just put in your wallet address into it. It will then go through the blockchain, find all the different transactions you did, and spit you out a tax report basically from that. Now you may have to actually put in more information into it because it'll be like, what is this? How did you get this? So you may have to put more information into that. But there is software out there that might help you parse through the crypto part of it. Now, the NFTs, yeah, I don't know, but there is software for that.
They're gonna have to make a program like NFT tax, friggin' tax turbo or something. Ryan, make that.
Yeah. So I'm looking at this currently. It's actually not very expensive. You can get Hustling Like a Pro Trader for $179 a year, and it claims to check prices at times of transactions and everything.
Oh wow!
So,
I know
yeah, good idea. Thank you for bringing that up.
Oh, I'm glad.
Yeah, it does, and you have to be careful. It's per year, so it wants you to go back and do every year. So if you started crypto in 2017, you actually have to buy every year that you've traded crypto.
Oh,
Just as
okay.
a little catch, so you guys know.
I know that we interviewed the CEO too on OTC Club of, I believe his is called Coin Tracker. So I know that that's like another program as well, if you guys want to check that out too.
I remember when y'all talked to him, and yeah, the product seems similar, where you put
Yep.
in your wallet address. But yeah, it does. And both of those, I think, get the coin price at the time that the transaction occurred, which is good data, because I'm like, I have no clue what this, crap, what the shit coin is that I bought in March, what it was worth at the time. And so it can actually look at that and bring that in. Scrupulous, you got your hand up. What's up?
Hey, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Morning.
Just wanted to I guess, bring in my 2 cents on the whole NFT tax thing. I know me and Christina talked a lot about some things. One thing that I would like to say, and I know, Ryan, you're probably very familiar with this, is that tax law and business law do not talk to each other. So be very aware of the type of CPA that you do bring in, as most of the time, most CPAs don't understand business law, especially if you do have your own corporations. Additionally, something to look into for people is Section 269 as well as Section 179 of the Tax Law Code. And I would love a CPA to challenge me on this hypothetical. You have a corporation that purchases an ape for, let's say, 60 ETH. They use it as their business profile for Twitter, and they utilize Twitter for all of its engagement purposes for marketing and advertisement. Based upon Section 179, as long as an asset is purchased, it can be written off if it's used for 51% of the time for the business, up to $1 million deduction. I don't think an ape is $1 million yet, but that would be something that I guess you could look into, Ryan. But additionally, for
I'll be
everyone else
looking
with
into that
NFTs,
immediately.
yeah, look into 179, because you have your ape on your thing, and if you just use it for, I mean, it's hard to say for marketing and advertising, 51% of the time for marketing and advertising, as long as you have your ape up there, how can they prove whether or not you use it for your own businesses, especially if the asset, quote, ape was purchased under the business, which Nifty Gateway has kind of provided that loophole. I don't know if people are aware of that, but if you have your business or your corporation, your business card attached to the Nifty Gateway, then it's kind of a business purchase technically, and it's not really trackable right now because of the way things are set up for NFTs and the whole crypto thing, because it's still such wild west. But basically, you can technically purchase that from the business, and now it's under the business. And if you're utilizing it for the business, then Section 179 and 269 should be enacted.
Hey, that's a brilliant idea. I'll check that out. And you bring something else up too. Like at a minimum, I think if you're using that for wouldn't that be a depreciable asset? Like you buy a truck for your maintenance business, you depreciate the value of that over 5 years usually. Could you depreciate the value of
wear and tear
business
for the truck that you don't have with an NFT?
I think the depreciation part of it, or the appreciation, because it'll be either one or other, would depend on the actual floor price of said NFT project. So depending on where that floor price is at, I think that's where the depreciation or appreciation delta would come.
Intangible asset. As far as if you say have an ape as a profile pic for your business, if you're using it for the business, I would imagine it'd be intangible and subject to the impairment rules. That was a discussion that was happening last night, so that was something mentioned there.
Yeah, it could be considered intellectual property too, right?
Yeah, I don't believe Section 179. I know it is your most tangible property, but as you start getting into this realm, how do you differentiate what's tangible, what's not within crypto?
To me, it's whether you can hold it in your hand, just by definition of tangible.
Right,
I guess,
if I put it on
I can't hold Bitcoin in my hand.
it's technically tangible. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand it gets a little blurry as you talk about assets and assets now that you can't hold any longer. So,
Yep.
or hold in your hand, that is. Yeah, that
Maybe
gets.
it'd be like a marketing expense at that point.
See, that's what I think. If I were to hire like a celebrity, you know, a model or an entertainer to be on a billboard, that's advertising. But if I were to buy a Bored Ape and put that on a billboard, to me, it's a lot of the same thing. I'm paying money for the notoriety that comes with paying for it.
Well,
Yeah,
if
we might
nothing else,
just
it'll be fun to see how this plays out over the next few months.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they start defining these assets, and also to see, the different utilities. Like, how are we using this? Are you a business? Are you an individual? There's different dynamics at play. How it's going to be treated at the end of the day. So it'll be interesting to see how all this develops.
Right. And with NFTs, especially, like, I think what I was asking David earlier is like there's different taxation and different law when it comes to art. And then for NFTs to land in that, like, it's considered art. And a lot of people are buying this because of art. Artists are creating a lot of these NFTs. But then also it's in the like investment like is it it could also be considered like a, they're probably looking at it like, oh well, it's essentially just crypto, or look at it as like it's just stocks and crypto and they're investing in it, but it does land in that art category. So it's super, I'm sure they're super chaotic about how they're going to, because this is probably a whole brand new categorized thing, like once they figure it out.
Yeah, and we don't. I think the big thing about we talk about being scared of, the other shoe dropping is right now there seems to be some chaos around what the law is, what the interpretation of the law is, what it's going to be in the future, and nobody wants to be either A, holding a giant bill during the confusion of this because you didn't understand the tax law very well, or B, they don't want to be completely outside the law and feel like they have to just hide what they're doing either. In my mind, and maybe I think too good of people, I believe people kind of want to pay what their fair share is, but they want to do it without fear of being wrong. And that's maybe the whole problem with the whole US tax system, right? Is they have an idea of what I'm supposed to pay. And if I'm away from their idea, then there's a problem with it. And to me, this is the kind of the nuts and bolts of the issue here, is explaining all this to your accountant, all the while having fear that, am I going to go to jail if I do some of this wrong? Or am I going to be completely in the poorhouse for taking this profit and then reinvesting it into something else? It really, I think, is anxiety inducing.
Well, nobody's going to go to jail for a tax dispute. You'll go to jail if you're trying to evade taxes. But having a stance, particularly if it's one that your accountant has, done on your behalf, there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, people claim things on their taxes all the time that aren't allowed to claim. The IRS just come back and say, yeah, you can't claim that and you owe this. But, that's not evasion. Evasion is illegal. Claiming everything you think you can is not illegal.
That's a great point. Trying to do your fair share, trying to adhere to the law, but misinterpreting it, or being told that you've misinterpreted it. You're right. That should not be a jailable offense. And from what you're saying, doesn't sound like it is. So this gets into, we got very lucky. Scrupula, you came on here and said, I'd love to ask a CPA. Right before you came in here, we had David, a NFT tax expert, in here. And we just kind of got fortunate that he came in here because Christine and I didn't work with him to come in here. He just showed up, I guess, saw the title of these spaces and came on in here. But he gave some really good information. And I think in the end, just told us what we kind of already know, is anytime you make a transaction, you are taxed on that. But NFTs, to me, put in a whole new world of difficult to assess what their current value is, because you don't know what that current value is until you finally make that sell, right? I know what the floor price is on OpenSea, but many of us think that the ones that we have, the floor price isn't indicative of what we own. At least that's what I think with all mine.
Well, I think floor price. If you were to value something off the floor price, I mean, you could stand some risk of getting sniped, but that could be manipulated. I think both ways. That can be, and it has been manipulated both ways.
So is the value of your NFT what you paid for it basically until you sell it?
That's the way I understood it, is because I think David had used an example of, or somebody did on here, that you buy something for 0.2 ETH, and then you've now got an asset that's worth 0.2 ETH. That's your claimable, that's your taxable event, and it's not a taxable event again until you sell it. So if you hold it for 5 years, then you're not paying taxes on it. Again, you already paid it for that 0.2 ETH. Now, as soon as you sell it for 5 ETH or whatever years later, then all of a sudden you've created another taxable event, and now you've got to pay taxes on that. Not financial.
So I have the solution. I have the solution to all of this. We just need to make so much fucking money next year that it doesn't matter.
Man, I like your solution.
That's a fact.
I want to sign up to your newsletter. That's a good one. Just to be so successful that whenever you hear your tax bill, you just say,
You just laugh.
right. Okay. Well, I've got.
I like that plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just laugh because you've got plenty to pay for it with.
Yeah. You're like, chump change, take it.
But to do that, I think you really have to be prepared. Like Christine you were saying earlier, that you're like scared of what the bill might be because, you've traded, you've made some money, you've lost some money, and you're scared what the bill might be. You have enough there. I think having, in Ryan's case of just making so much money that it doesn't matter, I think going into 2022, I'll have a better grasp on some of this, particularly with the NFT space with it.
Definitely. I know that if we have this conversation this time next year, we'll definitely have a lot more knowledge on everything because we'll have been through it with our accountants for, I don't know. It's just going to be so new. Like I've literally never realized any gains from my stocks before and then, or crypto. So both of those are going to be new as income and then now the NFT game. So we shall see. And then we'll have a lot more knowledge next year this time.
The thing is, I'm sorry, you took, during COVID, you actually took out some gains and, converted them to fiat, and that was part of your income then. But in crypto, even if you traded from crypto to crypto, it's still a taxable event, which you may not have done.
Yes, it's still taxable. And that's the same with stocks too, is like, like let's say the example of AMC, let's say I freaking bought in and threw in $100 and then I made 10 grand. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to sell here, but I took that 10 grand and then put it in another stock. That was still a taxable event. So I guess that's what they're doing with the NFTs is like, you could sell it, right? And then you could go back and buy into another project, but every time it's a taxable event. Isn't that what's happening?
Well, my question is with taxable events on purchasing NFTs, from my understanding, there's no federal sales tax, right? It's all state sales tax. So if you purchase an NFT from a project that's, say, created from Australians or Germans or whoever out of the country, what sales tax do you use? There technically is no sales tax for that, right?
Yeah.
Well, sales tax is very different than income tax.
Right. But we're saying, I heard earlier that each type of transaction is a taxable event, but the purchasing part, from my understanding or from my logic, it doesn't seem that would be a taxable event.
Yeah, and I don't know because when we talked to the guy from Coin Tracker, he was saying that they are looking at it as a taxable event.
Well, for coins, I can see that because you're using it through one of your platforms that's already tied to your Social Security or your income. Mm-hmm. So, but I'm just saying, like in general, for like if I had a corporation or if I had anything that was purchasing an NFT, since the NFT is different than an actual coin, does that differentiate it enough to not, I guess, bring in the sales tax on a purchase of it?
Right. I don't know. And I know that they're still trying to figure it out, or the IRS is trying to figure out what they're going to do with it. But I know they've already laid down some guidelines and stuff that seem pretty iffy. Like they really don't know what's going on.
AKA now's the best time to buy NFTs and hoard.
Yep.
Now's the best time. I like that. That might be the little bit of gold.
Probably true.
Right. Hoard them now. And the thing is some people will use this, crypto, DeFi, even NFTs, and they won't report it. And then years later, maybe they'll decide, I want to start being on the up and up. And I don't know how they, how on a public blockchain, how you can then all of a sudden start claiming them. It gets to be really messy after a while. All right, guys. Well, it has been fantastic to be able to speak with everyone here today. I think we had a little bit of a treat with David coming in here earlier talking about, NFT law and tax law and everything like that. We were very fortunate for that. That was unplanned, and we were just lucky here. We probably are going to talk about this more, is my guess. I don't know about it's going to be next week or not, but as we get into the new year and everybody starts, going to Coinly or going to Coin Tracker, figuring out all these reports and trying to figure out what exactly it is that they owe and how much they owe and trying to adhere to tax law, that will be a common topic. So it wouldn't surprise me if we have this topic another time as before we all pay our taxes by April. So we are through for this week. We're not going to have a Discord community update tomorrow, nor are we going to have an AMA on Friday in Discord, but we will be back on Monday in here, right on Spaces. Make sure you join us, and we'll be able to talk about, we usually call it Moon Monday, and you never know what the markets are going to do between now and Monday. That's a lot of time with a holiday in between, so we will always have good fodder to talk about. All right, guys, loved talking to you. Love you all. I'll see you later. Peace.
Happy holidays. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
There he goes.